the home. What was your overall conclusion in your investigation?
My overall conclusion was that the physical evidence pointed to Morgan Walker as the murderer of Claire Walker.
No further questions, Your Honor.
Thank you. Cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. Detective Hernandez, you didn't bother investigating anyone outside the family.
I didn't need to. Morgan committed the murder.
In the basement, police found a footprint,
Yeah, they did.
and this footprint didn't match anyone in the house.
No, it didn't.
To this day, you have no idea who this footprint belongs to.
No, but I don't need to.
There were windows open in the basement where Claire Walker's body was found.
Yes,
You didn't dust these windows for fingerprints.
didn't need to.
You didn't check these windows for any DNA.
I already had the DNA from the back of Claire's neck. What more was necessary?
So the answer to my question is yes, you didn't check these open windows in the basement where Claire Walker's body was found for any DNA.
The answer to your question, counselor, is yes. I wasn't going to waste the time of and the taxpayers' money on something that silly.
Claire's autopsy showed she had wounds from a stun gun on her body.
It did.
You didn't find a stun gun in the home.
It also said that the cause of death, as I just read, was blunt force trauma and strangulation. It did not say that the stun gun was the cause of death at all.
But regardless, there was stun gun marks on the deceased's body.
Sure, but that's not what killed her.
But you didn't find a stun gun in the home.
Correct, I did not.
You didn't ask neighbors if they saw anyone break in.
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
Response.
Your Honor, it goes to the credibility of the investigation conducted, which they opened the door for on direct.
Yeah, allowed, overruled.
You didn't ask neighbors if they saw anyone break in.
No, I didn't need to.
You didn't interview anyone outside the family.
Why would I? It was someone within the family.
Other officers on the case disagreed. They asked to investigate the possibility of a break-in.
This is true, but they're officers. I'm a detective.
That's right. And you prevented any investigation of suspects outside the family.
Prevented would be a strong word, but I did discourage them from continuing to follow their theory.
You admit the police botched this investigation.
No, but with regards to their investigation of the home, I am extremely disappointed with that. Yes.
When police first arrived, they didn't inspect the basement
Yeah, and they should have.
because that caused a delay in finding Claire's body.
Exactly. So we're on the same page on that.
Yeah. And inspecting the scene is standard procedure.
It is.
So you agree your officers failed to do the bare minimum.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and I did state that in my report.
And their failure contaminated evidence.
No. Morgan contaminated the evidence.
Well, let's talk about that evidence. You cite touch DNA as evidence Morgan Walker committed this crime?
Yes, specifically on the back of Claire Walker's neck.
Yes, DNA analysis found my client's touch DNA
Yes,
on the back of his daughter's neck.
right, because he strangled her.
But this report doesn't tell us how old this touch DNA is.
And
Yes or no, this report doesn't tell us how old this touch DNA is.
Objection, Your Honor. The age of the DNA sample is not relevant to the accuracy of the DNA report or what the detective testified on.
Response.
Your Honor, this is the sole piece of physical evidence they have brought forward to convict Morgan Walker. It is relevant that we dive into exactly what this touch DNA shows. And if the witness will testify, there is no age on this touch DNA. They can't say what time it came from.
Yeah, I think it's relevant, overruled.
This report doesn't tell us how old the touch DNA is.
It does not. So I pose, but you do know that it's within 99.9% accuracy and was pinpointed to one person out of 7.5 billion.
Oh, yes, I'm not contesting it. And with all due respect, Detective Hernandez, I'll ask the questions here. Parents hug their children. You'd agree?
Sure. Not on the neck.
Parents sometimes carry their children.
Yeah.
In this case, you even saw my client carry his daughter's body out of the basement.
I did, counselor, but if you're asking me for my opinion, is it normal for parents to hug their kids on the neck or carry them by the neck? No, that's not normal.
Those weren't my questions at all. So let's move on. Morgan Walker carrying his daughter's body out of the basement could have accounted for the touch DNA.
Objection, Your Honor. Question calls for speculation.
Response.
Your Honor, again, this is within the purview of the investigation. This is the sole piece of physical evidence they are using. It is a valid thing to ask within their reason that seeing a man carry his daughter's body out of the basement and touch his daughter's body could account for the touch DNA they are now using to convict him.
I think you can answer the question. Overruled.
Morgan Walker carrying Claire's body out of the basement could account for the touch DNA you are relying on.
You have the sound of a vehicle in the background. If you're asking me for hypotheticals, sure, but it is my professional opinion in this case that that DNA was from Morgan strangling Claire Walker.
So it's a possibility this could account for the touch DNA.
Sure, but I have been on this force for many years, and as you heard today, I was just admitted as an expert.
Let's talk now about evidence of Riley's involvement. There was the ransom note in this case.
Yes, the ECU found a ransom note.
Well, originally it was found by Riley,
Yes,
and you interviewed Riley about this ransom note.
yeah,
You questioned Riley why he called 911 when the note said not to.
of course.
The note also says any deviation from the instructions would result in Claire's death.
Yes,
Riley called 911 anyway.
yeah,
The police also found a grocery list in the home,
yes,
and you found over 200 similarities between the ransom note and writing samples found in the Walker home, including this grocery list.
yeah, I did.
And the top of both these notes says from the desk of Riley Walker.
Yeah,
Before her body was found, you asked for photos of Claire.
yes, I did.
Riley's son, Aaron Jasper, got up to go get you these photos.
Initially,
Got up to go get you these photo albums, which were in the basement.
yeah,
But then Riley prevented Aaron from doing so.
yes, and I suppose that's because Morgan had the key.
You wanted to interview Aaron Jasper.
I would have liked to.
Yes, but Riley wouldn't let you.
Well, Erin's a minor, and by law, if she says I can't, then I wasn't able to.
So the answer to my question is yes. Riley prevented you from interviewing Aaron Jasper.
Yes, she's in her legal rights to do that.
Let's talk about why Riley wouldn't let you speak to Aaron. Claire suffered a head wound.
Yes,
A
Claire
head
did
wound.
suffer a head wound.
A head wound consistent with being hit with a heavy object.
With blunt force trauma, yeah,
And you found a flashlight in the living room.
I did.
Claire Walker's blood was on this flashlight.
Yeah,
You also found a fingerprint,
yes,
and this fingerprint matched Aaron Jasper.
yes,
And Aaron was one of the last people with Claire Walker before her death.
yeah, so was Morgan.
But the only evidence you found with Claire's blood on it had Aaron Jasper's fingerprint.
with respect to the flashlight, that is correct. I did find Claire's blood on it.
Thank you. No further questions.